Have you ever walked into a room where every smile was a blade sharpened just for you? My name is Raina Carter, and I'm standing in the doorway of my father's dining room, bag slung over my shoulder, hair tied back, heart steady as a surgeon's hand. The chandelier above glitters like this is a party, not a battlefield, but I know better. Every chair at the long mahogany table is filled. Dad at the head, smug in his tailored suit, his eyes glinting with something too hungry to be loved. My uncle, arms crossed like a bouncer guarding secrets. My aunt, clutching her teacup, watching me like I'm prey. And my cousin Dana, staring at her plate, avoiding my gaze. The air smells of rosemary and betrayal, and from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. This isn't just a dinner, it's an ambush, and I'm the target. They think I'm here to surrender what my mother left me, but they're about to learn I came with a plan of my own, one that will unravel their greed and rewrite the rules they thought they owned. I step forward, my boots soft on the polished floor, and Dad stands, his smile wide as a politician's. "Raina, we're so glad you could make it." Lies. He's not glad, he's ravenous. On the table, 3 folders sit like landmines. One's open, spilling legal jargon, inheritance transfer forms, clauses designed to strip me bare. It's my mother's trust, $2.4 million, meant for me alone, and they want it all. "We just want what's fair," Dad says, sliding the papers toward me, his voice smooth as oil. "You're young, Raina. You don't need that pressure. We'll manage it for you." Manage, control, spend, erase. He nods to the corner, where 2 lawyers in suits too shiny to blink stand like statues, their briefcases screaming setup. "They've drawn up the transfer," he adds. "Just sign." The room hums with their confidence, their certainty I'll fold under the weight of family. My aunt's teacup clinks. Dana shifts in her seat. My uncle's jaw tightens, waiting for me to break. I sit slow and deliberate, letting the silence stretch. Then I smile, soft as a whisper, and pull out my phone. "Funny," I say, my voice low but clear, "because I brought someone too." The air shifts, sharp as a snapped wire. Faces tighten. Dad's lips curl into confusion, his fingers twitching on the table. From the hallway comes the click of heels, precise as a metronome. A woman in black steps into view, her eyes sharp as steel, briefcase in hand. "Good afternoon," she says, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade through silk. "My name is Vanessa Grant. I represent Miss Carter." Dad blinks, his smugness cracking. "You brought a lawyer?" He sputters, like I've broken some sacred rule. Vanessa sets her binder down, calm as a storm's eye. "Actually, I'm not just her lawyer. I'm the executor of her mother's true will." The room freezes. Dana gasps, her fork clattering. My uncle leans forward, fists balled. Vanessa opens her binder, revealing notarized pages that glow with authority. "The will states Raina retains full control of the inheritance," she says, "and is legally shielded from family coercion." She pauses, letting the words sink in. Any attempt to manipulate her disqualifies the offending party from future estate funds. My aunt's teacup trembles. Dad tries to laugh, but it's hollow, a nervous hiccup. "Raina, honey, we're just trying to help. You've never handled this kind of money." I lean back, meeting his eyes. "You didn't invite me to a meeting," I whisper, loud enough for the room to hear. "You invited me to a robbery. You just didn't expect I'd show up with the cops." The silence is deafening, a power outage in their carefully laid plans. Vanessa slides a notarized page across the table, her movements deliberate. "Your late wife," she tells Dad, "knew exactly who she was raising. She ensured you'd never touch a cent of Raina's legacy." His face crumples, panic seeping through his polished facade. My uncle tries to read the page, but Vanessa covers it. "You're not named anywhere," she says, her tone final. I look at Dad, my voice steady. "You thought I was still the girl you cornered in the hallway, too scared to fight back. But I'm the woman Mom raised to finish the game." His mouth opens, then closes, like a fish gasping for air. The lawyers in the corner shift, useless now. My aunt mutters about family unity, but it's too late. The chandelier's sparkle feels mocking now, illuminating their defeat. I stand, Vanessa beside me, and we walk toward the door, heels clicking in rhythm. This isn't over. They'll regroup, but they always do. But for now, I've drawn first blood, and it feels like freedom. But we don't leave just yet. The weight of Vanessa's words hangs in the air, thick as fog, and I watch as the family's facade crumbles further. Dad's laughter dies in his throat, replaced by a flush of red creeping up his neck. He leans forward, fingers gripping the table edge like it's the only thing keeping him upright. "Raina, this is ridiculous," he says, his voice cracking just enough to betray him. "We're family. We only want to protect you from making mistakes with that money." "Mistakes? Like what?" I ask quietly, my eyes never leaving his. "Like the ones you made when Mom was sick, disappearing when the bills piled up, mocking her behind her back as if her pain was an inconvenience?" The room sucks in a collective breath. My aunt sets her teacup down with a clatter, her hands trembling. Dana finally looks up, her eyes wide, caught between loyalty and something like shame. Vanessa doesn't miss a beat. She flips to another page in her binder, the paper rustling like a warning. "Allow me to clarify further," she says, her tone as steady as a judge's gavel. "The will includes specific provisions as against any form of pressure or manipulation. It details that should any relative attempt to coerce Raina into relinquishing control, they forfeit not only this inheritance but any residual claims to the estate." She slides another document forward, this one highlighting clauses in bold, irrefutable ink. "Your late wife anticipated this, Mr. Carter. She documented patterns of behavior, abandonment during her illness, financial disputes, even recorded conversations where family members dismissed her wishes." Dad's eyes dart to the page, then back to me, panic flickering like a faulty light. "This can't be right," he mutters. "She never said anything about that to me." My uncle stands abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor with a harsh screech that echoes my rising pulse. "This is outrageous," he booms, pointing at Vanessa. "You're twisting her words. We were there for her, helped with what we could." Vanessa meets his glare without flinching. "Actually, the records show otherwise. Hospital visit logs, email chains, even bank transfers that prove Raina was the only one contributing during those final months. The will references all of it." She pauses, letting the evidence speak louder than any accusation. "And there's more. A no-contest clause that activates upon any legal challenge, potentially exposing the challengers to countersuits for emotional distress and fraud." The lawyers in the corner exchange glances, their polished confidence eroding. One clears his throat, attempting to interject, but Vanessa raises a hand. "I'd advise against speaking further unless you want to complicate your client's position." I feel a surge of something hot and fierce in my chest. Not anger, exactly, but a clarity Mom always talked about, the kind that cuts through lies like sunlight through shadows. "You all sat here thinking I'd sign away what she fought to give me," I say, my voice even, almost gentle. "But you forgot who raised me. Mom didn't just leave money, she left instructions, a map to navigate wolves in family clothing." My aunt pipes up then, her voice quivering. "Raina, you're tearing us apart over this. Think of the family." I tilt my head, meeting her eyes. "The family that called her a gold digger when she got sick? The one that vanished when she needed rides to chemo, leaving me to handle it alone at 19? No, Aunt Lila, you tore it apart long ago. I'm just refusing to pretend it was ever whole." Dad tries again, his desperation turning his words into pleas. "You don't understand what this could do for all of us. For the business, for Dana's education, for stability. We could invest it wisely, grow it together." "Together," I echo, the word tasting bitter. "Like how we were together at her funeral, when you showed up late and left early, or together when I begged for help with her care and you said it was too much drama?" Vanessa interjects smoothly. "Mr. Carter, continuing this line could be seen as further coercion. We have recordings if needed, your wife's own voice memos detailing these very conversations." The room goes still again, heavier this time, like the air before a storm breaks. Dana whispers something under her breath, too quiet to catch, but her face is pale, conflicted. I lean forward, my hands flat on the table, feeling the cool wood ground me. "Mom knew you'd try this," I tell them all, my gaze sweeping the room. "She wrote it out, clause by clause, because she saw the greed you hid behind smiles. And she made sure I'd have the tools to stand against it. Not with screams or tears, but with truth." My uncle slumps back into his chair, defeated. The lawyers murmur to each other, packing their things subtly. Dad's shoulders sag, the fight leaking out of him like air from a punctured tire. "We can talk this out," he says weakly. "No lawyers, just us," but Vanessa shakes her head. "The time for that passed when you set this trap. Now, it's about protecting what's rightfully Raina's." As the revelations pile up, I sense the shift irreversible. They've exposed themselves, not just to me, but to the light moms will casts, unforgiving and bright. I think of her then, in her hospital bed, whispering about armor, about not letting them dim my fire. This moment is that armor in action, solid and unyielding. The chandelier's light dances on the folders, now useless weapons in a lost war. We haven't left the room yet, but their control has already fled, leaving only echoes of what they thought was power. Finally, with the echoes of their defeat still ringing in my ears, Vanessa nods at me, a subtle signal that it's time. We rise together, our movements synchronized, deliberate, like we've rehearsed this moment in some unspoken pact. The family watches in stunned silence, their weapons, those folders, those lawyers, now just paper and suits scattered on the table like fallen soldiers. Dad's face is a mask of crumbling authority, his eyes pleading for a reprieve that won't come. As we turn toward the door, my aunt whispers something about reconciliation, but it falls flat, absorbed by the thick carpet. Dana's gaze follows me, a mix of regret and unspoken questions, but she stays seated, trapped in their web a little longer. The heels click again, mine and Vanessa's, marking our exit like a victory march, and when the door closes behind us, it's the sound of a chapter slamming shut, the ambush reduced to rubble. Outside, the evening air hits me cool and crisp, carrying the scent of rain on the horizon, washing away the stale tension of that room. Vanessa pauses on the steps, her briefcase swinging lightly. "That went better than expected," she says, a hint of a smile breaking her professional veneer. "You held your ground beautifully." I exhale, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders, not all at once, but in layers, like shedding old skin. "Mom would have loved this," I reply, picturing her grin, the one she wore when she outmaneuvered a tough negotiation. Vanessa squeezes my arm briefly. "She did love it. She planned for it. Call me if they try anything else." And with that, she's gone, her car pulling away into the twilight, leaving me with a quiet triumph that hums in my veins like electricity. By the time I get home, the adrenaline fades into a steady resolve, but my phone starts buzzing before I even unlock the door. Voicemails pile up, texts lighting up the screen like frantic fireflies. "Let's talk this out," from Dad. "You misunderstood," from my uncle. Even a hesitant "I'm sorry" from Dana, that feels half-hearted, laced with their influence. Emails titled "Family First" and "Don't Do This" flood my inbox, each one a desperate claw at the control they've lost. I pour a glass of wine, the deep red swirling like blood in the glass, and sit at my kitchen table, the same one where Mom and I used to plot our small rebellions over late-night tea. They aren't trying to mend bridges, I realize, sipping slowly. They're trying to rebuild their fortress with my stones, politely, persistently, as if persistence could erase the betrayal. I open my laptop, the screen glowing in the dim light, and start typing. Not a rant, not a scream into the void, but a measured declaration, BCCing every name from that table. Dad, uncles, aunt, Dana. Subject, inheritance misconduct, and final statement. Dear family, I begin, my fingers steady on the keys. I am no longer available for manipulation. If any of you attempt further contact, my lawyer will respond, not me. You are not entitled to what my mother entrusted solely to me. If you believed my silence meant weakness, consider this your correction. We are not at war. We are just no longer in business. I add details from the will, quoting the clauses Vanessa revealed, reminding them of the disqualification risks. It's not cruel, it's clear, a boundary drawn in indelible ink. Pressing send feels like releasing a breath I'd held for years, the whoosh of it echoing in my quiet apartment. That night, as the city hums outside my window, I reflect on what Mom left me beyond the money. She raised me with sharper eyes than they ever imagined, teaching me to spot the smiles that hid teeth, the hugs that squeezed too tight. For generations, women in our family bent to the will of others, handing over pieces of themselves like offerings, grateful for crumbs. But not her. And not me anymore. I think of her letters, the ones she'd write during chemo, slipping them under my pillow with notes like, "Strength isn't loud, it's unyielding." That's what this email is. Unyielding, a shield forged from her wisdom. My phone quiets eventually, their barrage tapering off into the silence they created. But I know it's not surrender, it's regrouping. Vultures don't vanish, they circle, waiting for weakness. The next morning, my aunt posts a vague quote on Facebook. "Money changes people." I see it while scrolling over coffee, the bitterness steaming from my mug. It does change things, but not how she means. It didn't turn me cold. It clarified the fog they'd spun around family duty. I wasn't the traitor. They were, mocking Mom's illness, vanishing when her strength waned, reappearing only for the spoils. I smile into my cup because this post is their white flag disguised as wisdom, a sulk broadcast to the world. Let them post, let them stew. I'm done climbing their ladder of expectations. I'm laying my own foundation brick by brick from the truth they underestimated. As days blur into a week, the silence from them feels like a fragile piece, but I use it to fortify. Vanessa sends updates. No legal moves yet, but watch for shadows. I organize Mom's files, the ones detailing her business savvy, her quiet fights against those who tried to undermine her. Each page reinforces what I already know. She didn't just protect the money, she protected me from becoming like them, from letting love be leveraged against me. In the quiet evenings, I whisper to her photo on the mantel, promising to honor that gift. The ambush was their mistake. But walking away? That's my victory, a step toward the woman she always saw in me. The fragile piece shatters exactly 3 weeks after my email, like clockwork for people who can't stand losing. I'm at home, sorting through Mom's old recipe cards, her handwriting looping like a warm embrace, when the doorbell rings, insistent and official. A courier stands there, clipboard in hand, delivering a thick envelope, certified and stamped, heavy as a grudge. I sign for it, my fingers brushing the seal, already knowing it's their next move. Inside, the petition sprawls across crisp pages, filed by Dad, co-signed by my uncle, seeking rightful redistribution of inherited funds, based on family contributions and verbal agreements with the deceased party. Verbal agreements, fabricated whispers, no proof, just desperation in legal font. They claim Mom promised to divide it all, as if her notarized will was a suggestion, not a fortress. I stare at the words, feeling a flicker of that old hallway fear, but it's faint now, drowned out by the steel Mom instilled. Vanessa calls before I finish reading, her voice calm over the line, almost amused, like she's seen this play a dozen times. They really went for hearsay over hard evidence, she says, and I can hear her flipping pages in the background. A bulletproof will like your mother's? This won't stand. I laugh, short and sharp, sinking into my couch. Guess they missed the days when I was too scared to speak up. We spend the afternoon drafting our response, her office a hub of strategy via video call, bank statements pulled from Mom's accounts, email records of their absences during her treatments, and at the heart of it, the letter she wrote 6 months before she passed. It's handwritten, dated, witnessed, the ink faded but fierce. Don't let them take this from you. You earned it when you stood by me. When they vanished, you stayed. This is not a gift, it's what's owed. I'd framed it on my bedroom wall, a daily reminder, but now it's Exhibit A, scanned and attached, turning personal into powerful. As we build the case, memories surface like ghosts at a trial. I tell Vanessa about the nights Mom dictated her wishes, her voice weak but unwavering, chemo bags dripping in the background. She knew they'd twist her words after she was gone, I say, because they did it while she was alive, claiming she exaggerated her pain for attention, whispering about her gold digger past when bills mounted. Vanessa nods on screen, her expression a mix of empathy and edge. We'll include timelines, she assures me. Visitor logs from the hospital showing you their daily, them sporadically, or not at all. And those voice memos she left, detailing conversations where Dad dismissed her estate plans as unnecessary drama. It's all there, a digital trail they can't erase. By evening, our response is solid, a counterpunch wrapped in facts, ready to file. I feel lighter, not from vengeance, but from the act of preparation, like suiting up for a storm you know you'll weather. The hearing arrives faster than expected, scheduled in a sterile courtroom that smells of polished wood and old coffee. They come loaded. Dad, uncle, aunt hovering in the back, 3 lawyers in sharp suits, their shoes echoing louder than their confidence. We arrive with poise. Vanessa in her black ensemble, me in a simple blouse that Mom would approve, her ring on my finger for luck. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with wire-rimmed glasses, scans the filings as arguments unfold. Their side spins tales of oral promises and family harmony, painting me as the ungrateful outlier disrupting tradition. But Vanessa dismantles it piece by piece, her voice steady. No evidence supports these claims. The will is explicit, notarized, and unchallenged until greed surfaced. She presents the letter, projected on a screen, Mom's words glowing large. You stayed? They vanished. The room quiets as the judge reads aloud, her tone neutral but probing. Dad shifts in his seat, avoiding my gaze, his hands clasped tight. My uncle mutters under his breath, something about fairness, but it's hollow, a whisper against the roar of truth. Their lawyers try to pivot, citing intent and contributions, but Vanessa counters with receipts, my payments for Mom's care, their lack thereof, and the will's anti-coercion clause, activated by this very suit. The judge doesn't need an hour, she rules in 30 minutes. There is no substantiation for verbal agreements overriding the documented will. The court affirms its validity. Motion denied. A gavel falls, crisp as closure, and they file out like shadows fleeing light. Dad's shoulders slumped, Uncle grumbling, Aunt dabbing her eyes as if this were a tragedy, not their own making. Vanessa packs our files, handing me the last folder with a smile. This wasn't just a win, Raina. This was drawing a line in the blood. They know now not to cross it. Walking out into the sunlight, the courthouse steps warm under my feet, I feel untethered, lighter than in years. Not because I kept the money, but because I kept my spine intact, unbowed by their pressure. They wanted the courtroom as my cage. It became my throne, a stage where Mom's foresight shone brightest. Later at home, I toast with herbal tea, Mom's favorite blend, whispering thanks to her spirit. The lawsuit was their Hail Mary, born of entitlement they mistook for right, but it backfired, exposing cracks in their unity. Dana didn't show. Maybe she's starting to see the rot. As night falls, I journal it all, the details sharpen my mind, a record for whatever comes next. They won't stop circling, but I'm ready, armed with more than law, with the legacy of a woman who taught me that silence isn't peace, it's surrender. And I've surrendered nothing. The morning after the hearing, sunlight filters through my curtains like a gentle nudge, urging me forward. I've stared at the key to Mom's safety deposit box for a year now, hanging on my dresser mirror, polished from all the times I've touched it without turning it. Not out of fear, exactly, but because some wounds need time to scar over before you can handle what's beneath. Grief isn't linear. It's a labyrinth, and I've wandered its halls long enough. But today, with the court's echo still fresh, the gavel's finality, their defeated shuffle out the door, I'm ready. I slip the key into my pocket, its cool metal a promise, and drive to the bank, the city blurring past like yesterday's shadows. The clerk leads me to a private room, all sterile white walls and humming fluorescents, and places the metal box on the table. Mom's handwriting on the label. For Raina, when they show you who they really are. My fingers tremble as I insert the key, the lock clicking open like a held breath released. Inside, the contents spill their secrets slowly, each item a layer of her foresight. First, a folder thick with letters, her script elegant even in illness. Pages addressed to each of them. Dad, uncles, aunt, even Dana. I skim Dad's first, my heart pounding. She details the lies, the quiet abandonments, quotes I half remember but she etched in full. His dismissals of her pain as overdramatic. The family meetings where they plotted to sideline her decisions long before she passed. They thought I didn't notice, she writes, but I documented it all, dates and details, so you'd know the truth isn't selective. My uncle's letter exposes his financial manipulations, siphoning small amounts from joint accounts during her treatments, claiming loans never repaid. Aunt's reveals the whispers, calling her a burden when hospital stays stretched on. Dana's is softer, a warning about influence. She's young, don't let them pull her into the cycle. I set them down, tears blurring me ink, not from fresh hurt, but from the weight of her vigilance. She saw their rot and armed me against it. Tucked deeper is a velvet pouch, soft as a whisper, and inside, her ring, the one she wore for her first big court win against that company that tried to bury her under lawsuits. Gold band with a single emerald, flawed but fierce, like her. It made me feel invincible, she'd say, twisting it on her finger during tough days. I slip it on, and it fits perfectly, as if it was always waiting for this hand. The stone catches the light, green like hope renewed, and I feel a surge of her strength pulse through me, steadying the shake in my limbs. This isn't just jewelry. It's a talisman, a reminder that battles are won with quiet resolve, not thunder. I twist it, imagining her doing the same, and whisper thanks into the empty room. At the bottom, a flash drive labeled Truth, matte black and unassuming, but heavy with promise. I pocket it for later, but even holding it feels like clutching a shield. Digital proof, she called it in her notes, receipts and scans backing every claim in the letters. Bank transfers showing my support, their absences, voice recordings of arguments where they belittled her estate plans. It's an armory, built in secret during sleepless nights, ensuring her voice wouldn't fade with her body. And folded beneath it all, a letter just for me. Pages creased like they'd been hugged. "Don't fight with noise," she writes. "Win with light. Let the truth be your sword, but never your shield. You were never meant to hide." I read it twice, her words wrapping around me like arms I haven't felt in too long. She wasn't just protecting assets. She was safeguarding my spirit from their legacy of silence, teaching me that worth isn't negotiated, it's claimed. I weep then, not the racking sobs of loss, but quiet tears of revelation, salty trails down my cheeks as the room's hum fades. Understanding crashes over me. The inheritance was never the treasure. She was, her clarity a gift that outshines gold. I think of the courtroom again, how her letter turned the tide, but this is deeper, a personal unveiling that mends the fractures they caused. Wiping my eyes, I repack the box carefully, keeping the ring on, the drive in my bag, the letters clutched like lifelines. The clerk nods as I leave, oblivious to the transformation. But I step into the daylight changed, grief transmuted into purpose, her echoes now my guide. Back home, I plug in the drive, the files unfolding on my screen like buried memories resurfacing. Videos of her, voice soft but steel-edged, explaining each decision, why the trust was ironclad, how she foresaw their greed blooming after her gone. "They'll call it help," she says in one clip, her smile wry through fatigue. "But it's hunger. Stand firm, Raina. You're the keeper now." I watch until sunset paints my walls orange, absorbing her wisdom like sustenance. That night, no rage simmers. Instead, a calm settles, deep as roots. They thought they'd dim her light by taking what she left, but she ensured it would blaze brighter in me. The ring warms on my finger, a constant pulse, and I sleep soundly for the first time in months, dreams woven with her laughter. Not their shadows. It isn't over, because people like them don't retreat into the ether. They rebrand, polishing their tarnish into something that gleams under spotlights. A week after the court's decisive gavel, I'm scrolling through my feeds over morning coffee when the headline pops up like a slap. Local entrepreneur John Carter launches family initiative honoring late wife's legacy. There she is, mom's photo smiling from a website banner. Her name, Eleanor Carter, splashed across donation appeals and mission statements she never authored. Dad's face beams beside empty checkbooks and volunteer sign-ups, as if this erases the years he ignored her pleas for support. The air in my kitchen thickens, coffee turning bitter on my tongue. He's stolen her face, twisted her story into a PR facade to salvage his image, monetizing guilt like it's a commodity. As if love could be crowdsourced, as if her warrior spirit was a trophy for his shelf. I stare at the screen, disbelief hardening into resolve, my fingers already dialing Vanessa before the page fully loads. "File an injunction today," I tell her, voice steady despite the pulse in my throat. "Trademark her name if we must. She's not their puppet." Vanessa doesn't hesitate. I hear her keyboard clacking, efficient as ever. "This is classic deflection," she says. "We'll argue misrepresentation, unauthorized use of likeness, and emotional exploitation." By afternoon, we've compiled the case. Screenshots of the site, mom's will excerpts barring family from profiting off her estate indirectly, even public records of his neglect during her illness. It's not just legal, it's moral. A stand against letting her memory be commodified by the very hands that abandoned her. The website goes offline by Friday, a blank error page where her photo once mocked me. Partners pull out quietly by Monday, whispers of controversy chasing them away. Dad tries calling, his voicemail crackling with feigned innocence. "Raina, I didn't mean to disrespect her. I just thought we could start over, do something together in her memory." I save it, not for more court fodder, but as a talisman against softening, proof that even now, he seeks to use her, one last grasp at relevance. My response is a letter, the last he'll receive from me, typed and mailed certified. "You didn't lose the money. You lost the woman who made you feel important, and now you've lost her name too. You can't wield what you never earned." Her story will be told, but by me. Asterisk. Sending it feels like sealing a vault, locking away the version of me that once hoped for reconciliation. But stopping them isn't enough. Mom's ring on my finger reminds me that defense alone is hollow. True power lies in creation. So I pivot, channeling the fire into something enduring. I launched the Carter Truth Foundation that same week, not for show, but for substance. Scholarships for daughters navigating inheritance battles, legal aid for women pressured by family greed, workshops on spotting manipulation disguised as care. The inheritance funds it all, $2.4 million seeding grants and resources, turning what they coveted into a force they can't touch. I designed the logo myself, her signature stylized into a shield, emerald green like the ring, and the website goes live with her real words. Win with light. Applications trickle in at first, then flood. Stories mirroring mine, women sharing how uncles sold family businesses without consent, brothers demanding splits from hospital bedside promises never made. One email stands out, from a woman named Sophia. My mom left me her art collection. My father claimed it was family property and sued. How did you stay calm? I reply personally, weaving in mom's advice. Permission to stop apologizing for surviving, to claim space without guilt. It sparks weekly calls, virtual at first, where voices overlap and shared catharsis. They called me selfish for keeping what she willed. I grieved alone, too. The foundation grows roots, hiring counselors versed in familial trauma, partnering with law firms for pro bono hours. By month's end, we funded 3 cases, women walking out of courtrooms with spines straightened, echoes of my own victory. Dana's shadow lingers in the periphery. I spot her liking a foundation post anonymously, a digital olive branch perhaps, but I don't reach out. Boundaries hold for a reason. Instead, I focus on the impact. A young artist reclaiming her mother's studio, a nurse securing her inheritance for her kids' education. Each story reinforces what mom embedded. The money was armor, but the real legacy is refusing silence. Evenings, I review applications by lamplight, her letter open beside me, feeling her presence in every line. They tried to rebrand her into their redemption arc, but I've reclaimed her as a beacon, illuminating paths for others. This isn't revenge, it's reclamation, a foundation built on truth's unshakable ground. Where women like me find footing, they were told didn't exist. As the foundation takes shape, I add new elements, online forums for anonymous sharing, a hotline staffed by survivors turned advocates. One call comes from a distant cousin I'd forgotten, her voice tentative. Your aunt mentioned this, said it was tearing the family, but I see now it's healing strangers. It hits me then. The ripple effect, how stopping their exploitation birthed something that outgrows us all. Mom would smile at that, her invincible ring glinting as if in approval. The foundation doesn't stay small for long. It swells like a river after rain, fed by the stories that pour in unbidden, each one a testament to the cracks in so many families. One message turns to 5, then dozens. Women reaching out via the website's contact form, their words raw and resonant. My mom left me a small business. My uncle tried to sell it without asking. I was told to split my inheritance with my brother. He never even visited her in the hospital. How did you stay so calm? How did you not burn it all down? I read them all, late into the nights, the screen's glow casting shadows on my walls. Mom's ring a steady weight on my finger. These aren't just echoes of my fight, they're mirrors, reflecting the same greed dressed in different disguises, the same pressure to shrink for the sake of family peace. I answer personally at first, not with legalese, but with what Mom gifted me. Permission to claim survival without apology, to see boundaries as birthrights, not betrayals. We start with weekly calls, virtual circles where voices overlap in catharsis, laughter mixing with tears as strangers become allies. They called me selfish for keeping her jewelry, one woman shares, her accent thick with emotion, but it was all she had left. I nod into the camera, sharing snippets of Mom's letter. You earned it when you stayed. The calls evolve into monthly workshops, held in rented community spaces at first, then online hubs with breakout rooms for deeper dives. We cover spotting coercion tactics, love-bombing emails, guilt-laced voicemails, and building emotional armor, like journaling betrayals to see patterns emerge. Vanessa Guest speaks on one, her sharp insights cutting through fog. Law isn't just papers, it's your voice amplified. Attendance doubles each session, words spreading through social shares and whispered recommendations, turning my solitary stand into a chorus. By spring, we've outgrown the basics, so I organized the first full summit. Daughters of the Line, 100 women in one rented hall, air buzzing with anticipation. I wear Mom's ring on stage, her letter tucked in my back pocket like a talisman, and step to the mic under soft lights that feel like her embrace. They said we changed, I tell them, my voice steady, amplified. But what we really did was return to ourselves. We stopped shrinking for people who only loved us small. The room erupts, claps thundering, some crying openly, others closing their eyes like breathing fresh air for the first time. Breakout sessions follow. Legal clinics where attorneys review wills pro bono, therapy circles unpacking generational guilt, even art workshops turning pain into poetry. One woman, mid-40s with silver-streaked hair, pulls me aside. Your story in the news, the court transcript. It gave me courage to contest my father's rewrite of Mom's estate. I hug her, feeling the ripple. My ambush becoming their awakening. The impact deepens with each connection, transforming what started as personal armor into communal shields. We fund microgrants now, $5,000 here for a woman's legal fees, $10,000 there for therapy scholarships, drawing from the inheritance they once clawed at. Media picks up. A local paper runs a feature, from Family Feud to female empowerment, quoting attendees anonymously to protect their privacy. Dad sees it, I know. A mutual acquaintance mentions his grumble about airing dirty laundry. But let him stew. His nonprofit flop was optics. This is outcome. Real women reclaiming narratives. Dana surfaces subtly too, an email with no subject. Mom would be proud. 5 words, no reply address, but they land soft, like truth without strings. Maybe she's breaking free. Maybe it's a crack in their unity. I don't respond. Boundaries hold, but it lingers, a whisper of possibility amid the healing. Evenings after workshops, I debrief alone. Journaling wins. A daughter who won her case, echoing my courtroom throne. A group chat buzzing with support long after sessions end. Mom's flash drive sits nearby, its truths now woven into our curriculum. Videos played in sessions, her voice explaining financial red flags, backing it with those receipts. They'll call you selfish for saving yourself, she says in one clip, and we etch it on summit banners. The foundation hires staff. A coordinator for events, a counselor for ongoing support, expanding our reach to online courses, accessible for those too far or too guarded to attend in person. One module focuses on legacy planning, how to draft wills that protect like hers did, clauses against manipulation becoming standard templates. As summer fades, the summit's echo carries us forward, applications surging for the next event. I stand by my window one night, city lights flickering like distant allies, and feel the shift. This isn't about inheritance anymore. It never was. It's about being the first in lines of silenced women to choose self over submission, refusing hand-me-down guilt, declaring, you don't get to hurt me and still claim a seat at my table. The foundation isn't just building, it's blooming, roots intertwining with stories that heal us all. Mom's light, once guarded in a safety deposit box, now illuminates rooms full of daughters ready to rise. I stand at the edge of the field, wind whispering through the tall grass like a secret shared among old friends. Sunlight pours over the marble plaque like a final blessing, warm and unwavering. It reads, "The Eleanor Carter House, a sanctuary for daughters who chose themselves." Beneath, in smaller letters, Mom's words etched forever. They'll call you selfish for saving yourself. Let them walk anyway. The building behind it was once a courthouse, all stern lines and echoing halls. Now it's transformed, walls painted in soft golds and deep greens, colors she loved, evoking growth and calm, whispering, "You're safe now." Beds line quiet rooms upstairs, legal aid offices hum downstairs with pro bono attorneys ready to draft unbreakable wills. Therapy spaces offer chairs arranged in circles for stories to unfold without judgment. I cut the ribbon with the same scissors she used to open her first business. Old, worn handles, blades still sharp as her wit. The crowd claps, not the polite patter of obligation, but a heartbeat rhythm, witnessed and alive, swelling with the weight of what this place means. Vanessa stands beside me, her black suit softened by the occasion, leaning in close. "You know this will outlive all of them," she murmurs, her eyes on the horizon where the grass meets sky. I smile, because that's the point exactly. Not erasure, but endurance, a legacy untouched by their grasping hands. The foundation's growth led us here. After the summit, donations trickled in from allies we'd never met, women sending checks with notes like, "For the daughter I wish I'd been." We bought the old building cheap, renovated with care, adding a library stocked with books on empowerment, a garden for reflection where flowers bloom in defiance of weeds. Today marks the opening, but it's been sheltering a few already. A young mother escaping a coercive marriage, her toddler playing in the playroom. A widow fighting her in-laws over a modest estate, poring over documents in the light-filled study. As guests mingle, foundation supporters, workshop graduates, even a reporter jotting notes, I walk the halls alone for a moment, footsteps soft on the new floors. Soft voices drift from rooms. Laughter from a group session, a woman reviewing her approved lease with a counselor, a teenager scribbling poetry on a notepad with a pink pen, her words flowing like released breath. I pause at a window overlooking the field, feeling mom everywhere, not in ghosts or echoes, but in the tangible. The ring on my finger catching light, her signature on every welcome packet, her philosophy woven into the programs. This isn't about lawsuits or ambushes anymore. Not the money they chased or the silence they imposed. She lives in the quiet victories of women who stay, who fight, who walk away, and build with the fragments left. That evening, as the sun dips low, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose, I linger under the archway, watching the last guests depart. No rage bubbles now, no hunger for apologies that would ring hollow anyway, only this profound sense, like roots sinking deep. They tried to steal her name, so I built a world where it saves others. That's not revenge. That's justice, completion in its purest form. With that, I exhale every remnant of the girl who begged for love in draining rooms, no longer needing their table. I've forged my own kingdom, and every woman within its walls is heir to something unbreakable. Back home later, amid the quiet hum of my apartment, an email pings. No subject, just one line glowing on the screen. Mom would be proud. It's from Dana. No reply address, no added pleas or drama, just those 5 words hanging like a fragile bridge. They don't feel like manipulation this time, not a ploy to worm back in, but genuine, an acknowledgement from the edges of their fractured world. Maybe she's seen the foundation's work, the headlines about the house opening, the stories of transformation that ripple out. I close the laptop without responding. Some doors stay shut for good, but it softens something in me. A reminder that even in their camp, cracks form, light seeps through. Whispering to the empty room, she is, I feel the truth settle. Proud of the sanctuary, of the legacy blooming beyond greed's reach. The house already buzzes with life in my mind. Tomorrow's first full day. Women arriving with suitcases and stories, finding solace in spaces designed for healing. I picture the garden at dawn, dew-kissed petals unfolding, symbolizing starts anew. This is what Mom envisioned. Not possession or power, but peace. A haven where silence breaks into song. In the quiet days that followed the opening, the Raina Carter house settled into a gentle rhythm. Its halls filling with the soft sounds of renewal. Pages turning in the library, murmured conversations in therapy circles. The occasional burst of laughter from the garden where women planted seeds of their own futures. I visited often, not as overseer but as one among many, sharing coffee with residents whose eyes held echoes of my own past struggles. One evening, as twilight draped the fields in lavender hues, a young woman named Mia approached me, her voice tentative yet warm. "This place," she said, "it's like finally breathing after holding your breath for years." We sat on the porch watching fireflies dance, and she spoke of her inheritance battle, how the Foundation's aid turned her fear into fortitude. Stories like hers wove through the air, each one a thread strengthening the tapestry, Mom began. As months passed, the sanctuary expanded subtly. A new wing for art therapy, online extensions reaching distant daughters via virtual sessions. The anger that once simmered in me faded into a serene certainty. Justice wasn't a sharp blade, but a steady light, guiding without glare. Dana's message lingered in my thoughts, a quiet seed of possibility, though I let it rest unspoken. Instead, I focused on the lives unfolding here. Mothers teaching daughters to draft their own boundaries. Women reclaiming names long overshadowed. Mom's ring, now a familiar weight, reminded me daily that legacies endure not in grand gestures, but in these whispered victories. And so, as the wind carried petals across the grass, I whispered back to the stars, we did it, feeling her presence in the peace we'd built, a world where no woman need beg for her worth.